Hi students, welcome to lesson 2 on structural functional perspective, and we are going to discuss about M.N. Srinivas and S.C. Dubey. Structural functional approach in the study of society emerged from the writings of earlier thinkers like August Comte, Herbert Spencer, Emile Durkheim during the latter part of 19th century and become a predominant trend in sociology, social and cultural anthropology and other social sciences during the first half of 20th century. The central idea of structural function analysis is that society is a whole unit made up of interrelated parts that work together. This perspective focuses on the understanding of the ordering and patterning of the social world and stresses the element of harmony and consistency. While explaining society, structural functionalist implies that everything within the system is necessarily functional for the whole. They believe that society is relatively persisting configuration of elements and consensus is a universal element of the social system. Structural functional approach in order to study the phenomena emerged initially in biological sciences and was later adopted in other sciences and social sciences. The essence of the functionalist perspective may be summarized by drawing an analogy from biology. A biologist studies an organism that is a human body. They analyze various parts such as brain, lungs, heart and liver. If each part is examined in isolation, it will not reveal the entire functioning and maintenance of the part unless and until it is studied in relation to other parts comprising the whole organism. Similarly, structural functional approach to the study of society views society in terms of its constant parts and their interrelationships with each other in order to maintain the society as a whole. It observes that behavior in society is structured and the relationships between the members of society are organized in terms of rules or norms which are patterned and persistent. The structure of the society may be looked upon as the amalgamation of normative behaviors and social relationships which are governed by norms. The social structure of society consists of institutions such as the family, the economy, the educational, the political and religious system. These parts of the social structure contribute to the maintenance and survival of the society. In other words, each part of social structure has a specific function to perform towards maintenance of the society. From a functional perspective, society is regarded as a system. A system is an entity made up of interrelated parts which are interdependent. Changes in the function of any part will in some way affect every other part and the system as a whole. These parts are integrated and collectively contribute to the maintenance of the order and stability of the system. Functionalists believed in consensus, order and stability of the system. A.R. Radcliffe Brown and B. Malnoskovy elaborated and codified structural functionalism as the basis of anthropological and sociological thinking. Radcliffe Brown chose social structure as a unit of analysis and sought to explain numerous interpersonal relationships. A structural functionalist never takes truth for granted. Truth happens in social contexts that need to be studied through empirical observation. Therefore, sociology must have to liberate itself from the book review approach and must have to go for field work and contextual analysis. The structural functional approach has been an important approach in the study of Indian society. Scholars and students of Indian society, both sociologists and social anthropologists, have undertaken extensive analysis of the caste and village system in order to understand the unique nature of the Indian society. The main followers of these perspectives are M.N. Srinivas, S.C. Dubey, Macking Marriott, I.P. Desai, D.N. Majumdar and others. The structural functionalists view society that the Indian society is made up of caste as significant parts that collectively constitute the social system. Caste form the units or the building blocks of Indian social structure, since they have been enduring or lasting groups that determine the person-to-person institutionally defined relationship in the society. Now we will discuss about Mysore Narasimhachari Srinivasa's contribution in view of structural functional perspective. He was born on 16 November 1916 in Mysore in an orthodox Brahmin family. He was socialized in the basis of Brahmanic values. He was internationally renowned scholar who had the opportunity of learning sociology from G.S. Gure at the Department of Sociology, Bombay University. He pioneered structural functionalism in India through his path-breaking work on Cooks of Mysore. In his study, he analyzed how different cultures contribute to solidarity of Cook's community. Emile Srinivas was also greatly influenced by his teacher A. Radcliffe Brown, who was an English anthropologist at Oxford University, where he was pursuing his second PhD degree. He did not go in for grand theories like Parson, but developed his perspective by deviating purely from ideological view. His structural functionalism is a blend of approaches used by Radcliffe Brown and Ivan Spitzer, under whom he has received sociological training at Britain. He has contributed significantly as a researcher as well as an institutional builder. He set up the Department of Sociology at MS University, Baroda, and also contributed a lot for the setting up of the Department of Sociology at Delhi University. Now, we will discuss about the methodology adopted by M.N. Srinivas. M.N. Srinivas is known for introducing the tradition of macro-sociological generalization on micro-anthropological insight and of giving a sociological sweep and perspective to anthropological investigation of small-scale communities. Srinivas blended theoretical structural functional with empirical work to understand the countrymen, not believing in Western books or sacred books. He was interested to study them from direct observation and his field experiences. So he used the method of direct observation and made an intensive study on the Cooks society and introduced the element of ethnography. His approach also considered ideological views which cannot be neglected in his work. Srinivas studied mostly about the caste and religion to highlight the structural functional aspect and the dynamics of caste system. According to Srinivas, there are basically two ways of understanding our society. Those are book view and field view. Book view is to understand the society from the books and literature available and is otherwise known as ideological approach, according to whom book view gives a distorted picture of any phenomena. His fieldwork has helped in revealing many facts about Indian society. After completing his fieldwork in Coorg and Rampura, he has come up with many new concepts like Sanskritization, dominant caste, etc. He studied Indian society in terms of patterns of relations, social institutions, and their working in the society in a holistic manner. He interpreted phenomena like caste, family, and religion in functional terms. His works and contributions include many works such as caste, religion, culture, community, and social change. By applying structural functional approach, he has studied Indian society as a totality. He has conducted his intensive study in Coorg and Rampura and with his fieldwork experience wrote extensively on the following themes like social change, religion and society, dominant caste and Sanskritization. Now we will discuss M.N. Srinivas' work on structure of caste. In his book, The Remembered Village, Srinivas has written about the structure of caste system in Rampura village. He makes a distinction between both book view of caste and empirical view. He emphasizes on Varna system and also looks into division of caste, subdivisions and sub-subdivisions present within caste. He considers that caste is an empirical reality, hence in every village one can notice around 20 to 25 caste groups present, and within every caste group there are present subcaste and sub-subcaste. It discusses the caste system by dividing the entire population based on occupation. He links caste with agriculture. He analyzes the practice of various castes in relation to their occupation. He was of the view that each caste is dependent on thereby leading to an organic integration of each caste with others. They are related with each other in a functional perspective, as elaborated by Radcliffe Brown. He indicates that new caste groups are born out of the decline of old caste groups. Therefore, caste is a subject of both fission and fusion. He rejects outrightly Varna view of caste focused by colonial rulers and stereotyped Brahminical models founded by Louis Dumont. Through the empirical data, he rejected the idea that caste is a hierarchical system where mobility is not possible, produces closed society. Srinivas considers that caste is dynamic throughout Indian history. Different caste groups of experience both upward and downward mobility that needs to be asserted by empirical observations. Srinivas investigates the caste system, giving importance to two different important criteria. First, ritual criteria, and the second one is secular criteria. Under ritual criteria, he puts in aspects like food, manner, speech, practices, birth, deities, personal conduct and language. Under the secular criteria, he takes into consideration education, wealth and power. He says that caste in the past was giving importance to ritual criteria, but with the advent of foreign invaders, the ritual criteria were not given so much importance. When Brahmins declined the offer of Muslim rulers to work in their courts, there was one class which joined the Muslim courts, that is the Kshatriya, and they were able to enjoy high status. In Gujarat, Noorias who were engaged in salt production got hired by the British to make salt for guns during the Second World War. The British provided them huge amount of money, and this led to the rise in the status in their villages, and thereby they started enjoying higher power than the Brahmins. In the past, Brahmins enjoyed immense status and were considered lords of power. But in contemporary India, secular criteria has started dominating the ritual criteria. Srinivas says caste, which was a static institution in the past, is now a dynamic institution. In India, with the increase in secular criteria, people belonging to lower caste are going in a big way to improve and consolidate their position in ritualistic sphere, also by making use of their dominant position in secular criteria. Now we will discuss Emile Srinivas' views on social structure of Indian society, where he used field study approach to study Indian society. He writes that it is very difficult for a sociologist to remain value neutral when he is studying his own society. That is, objectivity is very wise to hear but difficult to implement. Srinivas uses three concepts to understand the social structure of Indian society, and the first one is Sanskritization. Srinivas coined the term Sanskritization to reflect the social mobility present in Indian society. According to Srinivas, Sanskritization is a process by which a low Hindu caste or tribal or other group changes its customs, ritual, ideology and way of life in the direction of a high and frequently a twice born caste. This process of impersonalization results into some changes in the lifestyle of lower caste people. This change helps the lower caste to achieve a higher position in the caste hierarchy than that which has been determined, ascribed to them by the local community. The lower caste people usually made such kind of claim over a period, in fact a generation or two, before it is conceded. In his study of Mysore village, Srinivas finds that at some time or the other, every caste tries to change its rank in the hierarchy by giving up its attributes and trying to adopt those of caste above them. This process involves a change in one's dietary habits from non-vegetarianism to vegetarianism, and a change in one's occupation habits from an unclean to a clean occupation. Second point is Westernization. Westernization refers to the changes introduced during the British period to the Indian society and which is continuing in independent India. Like Sanskritization, Westernization is not restricted to any segment of the Indian population. The achievement of independence accelerated the process of Westernization. There are, however, some presuppositions in the process of both Sanskritization and Westernization which do imply precedent or consider structural changes, such as improvement in economic position of the Sanskritizing caste. superiority and dominance of the caste being emulated, and the psychological dissatisfaction among the low caste from their own position in the caste hierarchy. Third important thing he spoke about is the dominant caste. He has also coined the concept of dominant caste after studying the Rampura village. The concept of dominant caste has been used to study the power of relation at the village level. He had defined dominant caste with the help of 6 attributes, which are large amount of land, numerical strength of numbers, high place in the local hierarchy, Western education, job in administration, urban source of income. But Srinivas, however, gave importance to 3 important attributes out of 6: numerical strength, economic power through ownership of land, and political power. Accordingly, a dominant caste is any caste that has all 3 of the above attributes in a village community. The interesting aspect of this concept is that the ritual ranking of a caste is no longer remains the major basis of its position in the social hierarchy. Even if a caste stands low in the social hierarchy because of being ranked low, it can become the dominant ruling caste or group in a village if it is numerically large, owns land, and has political influence over village matters. There is no doubt a caste with relatively higher in ritual rank would probably find it easier to become dominant, but this is not the case always. Now we will understand Srinivas' study on social structure of village. Srinivas viewed village as a prototype of Indian society or a microcosm of Indian society. He considered village to be integrated with the wider society. No village manifests unity in totality and is not constant in character. Srinivas indicates that village solidarity is a fact because people belonging to a particular village exhibit village exogamy, cutting across their caste line. They participate in village festivals. Voluntarily, they come together against external aggression. Servicing caste groups regularly comes from adjoining villages for work, which results into functional coordination. People carry their family identity, caste identity, and village identity along with their name. Therefore, village is not a geographical space. It is a social and cultural universe for man in India from where he gets his identity. He lives with this identity all through his life. It was a view that caste divides, but village unites people. Thus, one cannot understand Indian society without understanding the dynamic nature of Indian villages. Srinivas' views on social change. Srinivas considered the social change in India is not just technological and institutional, rather it is value-centric. The extensive British rule in India has expedited modern technologies, railways, printing press, radios and television and telephones. All these embodiments of modernity have responded to the demands of traditional cultural efficiently. TVs and radios do have secular and sacred uses in India. Newspaper is glorifying caste-based marriages, caste association. In addition to that, temples are becoming a place for collective gathering where politics and economics are discussed. Hence, social change in India establishing a balance between ritualistic orientation and secular success. Therefore, India is establishing a balance between tradition and modernity than simply following the European model of modernity. Now, we are going to discuss about Charan Dubey, means S.C. Dubey's contribution to structural functional perspective. S.C. Dubey is a well-known anthropologist and sociologist in India. He was born in the year 1922 on 21st July in Madhya Pradesh and died at the age of 73. He obtained master's degree from Nagpur University in political science. He started his career as a teacher in Nagpur at Bishop College. Later, he joined Osmania University. However, he quit Osmania to become Deputy Director of the Anthropological Survey of India in Nagpur. He was also Director of the Indian Institute of Advanced Studies, Shimla. Dubey's application of structural functional approach for studying the Indian village community brought him the recognition. He viewed that it is difficult to say any one village as representative of rural India as a whole. it cannot be representative in its cultural area. His study of village provides description of social, economic and ritual structure, family level living, etc. He played a key role in his study on Indian changing villages. His work, Indian Village, in the year 1955, is a full-length work account of village social structure, where he deals with total study of Shamirpet in the region of Telangana. He has portrayed the social structure and social institutions of rural India in a rational way. He had vision of looking things from different perspectives, which reflects the multidimensional personality. His writing also maintained the same insights into Indian social reality from a macro perspective, while simultaneously demanding precision in theoretical formulation and empirical verification of these positions. He presented a more comprehensive frame of reference for the study of complex cultures to understand the Indian reality. He applied deductive positivistic rather than inductive inferential approach based on null situation. His writings on Indian village also served as a model of descriptive and explanatory account of many other macro settings that came to be studied later. He also conducted an extensive research on tribes known as Kamar, who are shifting cultivators in Madhya Pradesh by applying positive deductive method. Now we discuss about S.C. Dube's works and contributions. Dube has various contributions including the themes of tribes, rural life, community development, modernization, management of change and tradition. He has basically focused on the aspects of Indian society and culture. Now we will discuss Dube's work on Indian villages. He has conducted a study on various Indian villages from a structural functional perspective. Indian village was a significant work which was done by him in 1955. It was the first full-length account of a village social structure where it depicted rural social structure and institutions. Dube conducted extensive fieldwork at village Shamirpet, which is located 25 miles away from Hyderabad, before writing his book Indian Village. In his study, he focused on 4 important aspects of rural India: the web of family ties, a level of living, the social structure, the economic structure, and the ritual structure. While studying social structure, he identifies 6 factors that contribute towards the status differentiation in the village community of Shamirpet: religion, caste, land ownership, wealth position in government services, village organization, age and distinctive personality traits, etc. He also emphasizes on the phenomena like caste, intercaste and inter-village organization. He has thrown light on how the caste panchayat of the lower or menial caste worked as union to secure their employment and strengthen their bargaining power with land-owning dominant caste. His study has also helped to reveal the fact that in India, no village is completely autonomous and independent, for it is always one unit in a wider social system and is a part of an organized political society. According to Dube, caste is a real structure that directs social relationships in an Indian village. An individual is not the member of a village community alone. He also belongs to a caste, religion groups or a tribe with a wider territorial spread and comprises several villages. Those units have their own organization, authority and sanctions. Dube, while studying economic structure, focused on the functioning of the villages in India. He found that the economic system of the rural India is mostly caste based. There are caste functional specialization, interdependence and low occupational mobility. While studying rural structure, he derived the 3 major types of religious services and festivals observed in the village. They are family ceremonies, village familial, communal festivals, and the Muslim and Hindus' interaction with each other during festivals. He also classified the society based on their standard of living into 4 categories. They are rich, well-to-do, average and poor. It was based on various aspects of living like household possession, clothing, ornament, etc. Now we will discuss about Dube's view on Indian society. Dube's important contribution is an extensive study on Indian society where it deals with many important social elements like diversity and unity, varna and jati, family and kinship, patterns of urbanization and gender relations. He viewed Indian society as an old and extremely complex society. He discusses about the difficulties in identifying the earlier inhabitants of India. Dubey has written extensively on caste and varna in his book Indian Society, where he has classified that in the Indian social system, varna is only a reference category that classifies the society. It is not a functioning unit of social structure and refers broadly to the ascribed status of jatis. In India, there are several jatis which are clustered together based on similar ascribed ritual status. He extensively discussed on the diversities in the forms and functions of the family in Indian society. He found that as an institution, family has been very strong in the village society. Family is considered as a working group with harmony, cohesion and cooperation. In addition, he has investigated the gender differences. He observed that women were confined to the four walls of the house and isolated from the activities of public sphere, and the husband was considered to be an authoritative figure whose will should be respected and obeyed by his wife and children. Now we will discuss Dubey's work on modernization. Modernization is a complex social process and involves lots of changes which are interrelated and of different kinds. Dubey focuses on the sociological perspective of these changes. He has mainly emphasized on the obstacles in the way of modernization, such as ill-balanced changes and rigid social norms, etc. In his book, Contemporary India and its Modernization, has mostly discussed about bureaucracy, leadership, education, planning and secularism to analyze critically the success and failures of modernization. Modern society is a rational and scientific society. Dubey identifies several components for constructing an adequate national framework for modernization. They are as follows. The first one, the cohesive bonds of society must be strengthened. This can be done by encouraging consciously planned interregional, interethnic interdependence, by secularizing political and economic participation, and by working for increasing acceptance of the legitimacy of the established authority. Second, social restraint and social discipline are important. These depend partly on the credibility of the established authority and partly on the latter's capacity to deal effectively with economic trends of different types. Everyone from highest to lowest must be subjected equally to the norms of restraint and discipline. Differential applications of these norms causes distrust and often leads to ambivalent attitude to authority. Third, there should be need for expertise both in policy making and implementation. The administrative structure should be visualized as a series of interdependent and interpenetrating but specialized and differentiated roles. Fourth, the reward system should be structured that it encourages excellence of performance and controls inefficiency and corruption. Dubey is in his book Modernization and Development, A Search for Alternative Paradigm, in the year 1988 has divided the growth and diversification or specification of the concept of development into 4 phases. In the first phase, development basically meant economic development, and economists focused their attention exclusively on economic growth. In the second phase, they focused on the relationships between economic development and social change. Economic development and technological changes were hindered by institutional factors. Thus, modification in the institutional framework of society and alternatives in the attitudes and values were to be contemplated to facilitate and accelerate the process of economic development. This revolution gave birth to modernization paradigm. The third phase is considered as a reactive and responsive phase. It was born out of a strong reaction in the inadequate paradigm of development and modernization and responded positively to more successful practices of development. And the last phase is the fourth phase, which is the reflexive phase. One must try to understand the world order and the national orders. Both need to be altered if human social survival is to be ensured. The chapter has tried for understanding Indian society from a structural functional perspective. While understanding the Indian society, an attempt was made through various studies on Indian villages, reflecting both the structural and the functional aspects of Indian villages. M.N. Srinivas and S.C. Dubey are two eminent sociologists in India who have adopted structural functionalist approach to study Indian society. They have explored many unknown facts about Indian society by conducting field study in different villages. M.N. Srinivas took Indian sociology away from the world of speculation, judgmental orientation, ideological and theological attachment to the world of facts where people speak for themselves. Srinivas emphasizes on field view over book view is a very important step in developing proper understanding of Indian social reality. He has studied Indian society and explored important concepts such as dominant caste, Sanskritization and Westernization. On the other hand, Dubey has emphasized on the role of various social structures like social, economic and political in shaping the villages. He has also thrown light on the interrelationship among the various elements of social structure. Here, an attempt has been made to examine the factors which are responsible for bringing change to the villages. Both the scholars have made an effort to make it clear that Indian villages are structurally and functionally reflected as a whole. Thus, it can be understood that from the perspectives of structural functional analysis, society is a functioning unit, with each part related to the whole. Whenever we examine a smaller part, we need to look for its functions and dysfunction to see how it is related to the larger unit. This basic approach can be applied to any social group, whether an entire society, a college, or even a small group as a family.